So I had a lot of plans for the intro of this video, but I decided to toss that idea out the window because I didn't really think that was going to be authentic for this particular video. I want it to be just me talking to the camera, me sharing my experience, so that those of you who have ever gone through this experience or who are currently going through this experience, I want to be that resource for you. And so I haven't planned a single thing for this video. I'm just going to be sharing my story and kind of talking to you guys about how I sort of navigated some of the bumps in the road that I went through. Before I get into it, I just wanted to welcome those of you who are new. Welcome my returning subscribers. My name is Bridget. Now, in the description of this video, you will find a link to my Facebook group, a link to my website so you can get to know about what I do in the background, and also some links to some of my other creative works. So if you want to check those out, feel free to do so. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful or useful. Comment below what you'd like to see more from me, please, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So let's get into the video. So yes, I was mute for 10 years of my life, and for some of you who have no idea who I am, that might sound crazy. Or for those of you who have maybe seen my videos before but don't know my story, that also might be crazy. It sounds crazy. It is crazy to me because from where I am right now, that seems like a lifetime ago. It seems like I didn't even live that life. But how it all started. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I was diagnosed with something called selective mutism, which is essentially a childhood anxiety disorder in which the child has a phobia of speaking. Now, it looks different for different children, as many anxiety disorders do. For me, it was mostly characterized by only speaking to a very small subset of people. And when I mean small, I mean small. It was my parents and my siblings. And that was it. For the first 10 years of my life, those are essentially the only people I spoke to. Now I had therapists that my parents, obviously found for me at the time. I was only 5. And yes, I would occasionally speak to them. I would kind of have to speak to them, or I would do this thing which I did with a lot of people, do the whole whisper, and then my mom or my dad would tell the person what I was trying to communicate. With teachers, it was a little bit more difficult. So I think because it is a pretty rare anxiety disorder, I don't believe at the time my teachers were equipped. I mean, how could they be? So I can imagine how difficult it was for them trying to help me, and I can imagine how difficult and frustrating and confusing it must have been for them. It was also very difficult for me because I think in every social situation I was put in, I really wanted to communicate those thoughts and feelings that I was having. And I honestly couldn't tell you why I couldn't. I think the best way I could describe it is as a few things. I didn't like the judgment and the fear that could come with me potentially voicing my opinion or my thought or my feeling, right? So there was a lot of fear of the unknown and the fear of judgment and the fear of criticism that were coming into play. I think that's what was holding me back. But I honestly cannot recall exactly why. That would be my best guess, knowing what I know now about my generalized anxiety, my social anxiety, but I don't know. And so it was quite difficult to navigate that relationship with teachers. And it was also very difficult to navigate relationships with my peers and make friends. Right then I got used to the idea of talking to more and more of my peers and obviously developing relationships with them. I don't know if I would describe those relationships as friendships, but I was definitely speaking to more kids by the time I turned that age, like after the first 10 years of my life. What I will say about this entire experience is that it wasn't that once I turned a certain age, everything was done. or once I passed a certain milestone, everything was done. I still don't consider myself as done. There were particular periods of my life where I was still going through some of those feelings or having that anxiety, but I didn't technically have that particular anxiety disorder. So I think the fear of speaking, the fear of communicating, the fear of social situations carried throughout most of my life, and even up until now, I would say, in particular situations, I still hold on to that anxiety. But I think it kind of ebbed and flowed as I was put in different environments and I was going through different stages of life, so to speak. One of the things that was most helpful for me in, all of these stages was the fact that I realized I had to want it in order to get it. What I mean by that is that I had to want to change. I had to want to make friends. I had to want something so bad that I would go and ask for it. I had to want something in order to see a result. Because if you don't want it, at least not want it enough, you'll never see a change and you will stay stuck in that comfort zone. I really think that, the truest answer to the question, how did you get over it? Or how did you overcome it? Whatever you want to put it, is that I wanted it. I wanted to make a change. I didn't want to be that girl. I didn't want to be shy. I didn't want to feel like I had to hide my voice or not ask the right questions or be comfortable in social situations. I didn't want that for myself because that's not where I saw myself going. So I definitely had a big vision and a big plan for myself. And I think that mindset and that want, that desire, really helped me push through the really uncomfortable times. And at the end of the day, getting over it, overcoming it, is about pushing your boundaries every single day. Pushing not beyond your limits, right? We don't want to overdo it here, but making the little adjustments every single day, pushing a little bit outside of our comfort zone. It was exposure therapy, right? I exposed myself to those things that I really found quite fearful. I guess I can walk you through some of the big fears I had, and you'll probably think they're stupid, or maybe some of you can relate to them. Calling someone up on the phone and asking for something, like typically when my parents would, say, okay, you gotta call your grandma or your grandpa, or you gotta call your aunt and say this, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. All these things. Talking on the phone was a huge, huge trigger for me. And I have no idea why. I think it's because when you're on the phone, people don't see your facial expression. They can't really read your body language. So all they have and all they're getting is my voice and my words, right? So that's all I have to offer. So if I mess it up, that's it. I'm done. That's all they can get from me. Like some of the first times that I made phone calls where I didn't really have the fear so much, that was a big breaking point for me. That was a huge milestone. Making a phone call without being scared. Heck, making a phone call on my own volition, huge milestone. This one in particular, I remember so well. The first time I spoke to a teacher. I remember it so well. It was in 3rd grade, and I asked for a glue stick. That was the first time I spoke to a teacher. That is insane, thinking about that now, because I'm trying to picture a child in school. How do you even navigate school without speaking to your teacher? I don't know. I don't know how I did it. I really don't know, but that was a big milestone for me. Living alone, obviously, that can be a huge milestone for anyone, but it was definitely scary the first few days, when I went to college. Big milestone. Having my first interview, giving my first speech in a classroom or my first presentation in grade school. Like, those were all big things. Talking to strangers, making new friends, going to appointments alone, going to the grocery store alone. All those firsts alone were very difficult for me. But I knew that those were going to be the foundation of, like the rest of my life. So I wanted to really try and push myself in those moments, giving myself breaks and allowing myself to, kind of retreat back into my shell at some points. But I needed those to lay that foundation. And those were always the scariest times. And I can't even tell you how many times, like, I remember just being so upset about the way I would handle something really so simple and so easy, like, going to the store and having conversation with the cashier, or going to an appointment and having a conversation with the doctor, or whoever it was at the time. I remember over and over and over again, I would be thinking about that conversation and how I thought I messed up. And the big kicker of it all is that now, having, being where I am today and knowing all that I know now, they will forget about that conversation the moment you walk away. My biggest mistake was that I lived inside my head for so long, right? I thought way too much about things that weren't important. And because I spent so much time doing that, I missed out on the bigger lessons and the bigger picture of it all. I didn't give myself enough slack. I didn't, congratulate myself for how far I come. I didn't give myself the credit that I really, truly deserved. The 3 biggest lessons that I learned from all of that, and I think that really helped me kind of keep moving forward and pushing through everything that I went through, is that wherever you are now, it is not forever. That's number 1. Again, like I said, there were so many stages, so many different parts of my life where that anxiety affected me. So wherever you are is so temporary, so temporary. So don't get too stuck on the now. Have that desire, that want, that craving to be something better, to be something greater, to have what you want, to have that better life for yourself. Whatever that looks like to you, right? I shared with you guys what that kind of looked like for me. I wanted to have a strong voice. I wanted to be loud, right? That's what I wanted, but I felt like it was hidden. So have that want or that desire, because that is going to push you beyond whatever limits you think exist for yourself right now. And third, don't forget to tell yourself how far you've come, how proud of yourself you are. Don't forget to give yourself that slack, because I certainly did, and I was way too hard on myself. So when you are pushing through and making yourself uncomfortable, it's hard. It's quite difficult. And for those who, don't experience social anxiety and have no idea what the heck goes on in our messed up brains, you won't get it, and that's okay, right? But those of you who do and who experience that quite difficult anxiety, don't forget to give yourself that slack. So thank you for those who watched today's video. I hope you guys have found it helpful, and don't take this advice lightly. I really want you to soak it all in. Maybe go back and watch some of the parts that you were kind of getting stuck on. But refer back to this video if you are struggling, because I certainly wish I had this particular kind of resource when I was going through what I was going through. I wish I had that person who could kind of relate to the things that I was feeling at the time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.